Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Christina. I'm the engagement lead here at Everyday Independence. I'm pleased to be kicking off this session on how we deliver early childhood supports using a key worker model to maximize the outcomes of children and their families. Our aim is to keep this session concise and as informative as possible, as we know many of you are busy mums and dads. Thank you to those who have submitted their questions already. We'll be answering them during the course of the webinar. If you haven't already, don't forget you have access to free downloadable resources that will give you some more information to consider and decide if we're the best fit for your child and family. So let's get underway. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which our sites are held. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and acknowledge Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders as the first people of Australia. Now, I'd like to introduce to you our speaker and early childhood lead, Tania Houghton, who has been with Everyday Independence for almost 4 years and has over 25 years experience in early childhood development. Over to you, Tania.
Thank you, Christina. It's a pleasure to be here today to talk about the key worker model at Everyday Independence. So what we'll cover today, we will talk about the key worker model, which is how we deliver services, and the importance of early childhood intervention. We'll talk about the social model of disability and the medical model of disability and how service delivery can look different in those two models. And we'll also have a look at what best practice should look like. So at Everyday Independence, our key worker model is based around the child and family and having one main support working with that child and family. At Everyday Independence, the majority of our key workers are teachers, and they have a broader team around them working with them, which includes an occupational therapist, speech pathologist, physiotherapist, could be a social worker, behaviour support practitioner, or a habit coach. So we have the team that works through that key worker to support the child and family. They'll work across a wide range of different environments. So they'll work within early childhood settings, which might be childcare or kinder or preschool, and sometimes schools. And they'll link in with health services and make sure that the child is receiving the health services they need. They'll also link in with community services and activities, which could include things like library programs or sports programs, and they'll ensure that that child has access to a wide range of opportunities for participation and inclusion. At Everyday Independence, our key worker model is a team-based approach. So we have key workers, speech pathologists, OTs, physios, who all work together to support the children and family. And the child and family are a really important part of that team and really important decision makers as part of that team as well. So our teachers are primarily workers, key workers. They are trained professionals. They have experience in supporting young children and also experience at supporting children with additional needs as well. They can fulfill all the roles of a therapist in terms of the reporting requirements for the National Disability Insurance Scheme, documentation, case notes, outcome reports. So they have experience and they have the skills to be able to fill the role requirements for the National Disability Insurance Scheme. Our teachers have really have general knowledge across a wide range of areas. So they understand about child development, they understand about child learning and cognition, social skills, play, gross and fine motor skills, language and communication and independence. And they also have a really strong knowledge of educational systems and environments. So they know how to work in a wide range of areas to support children. They bring on the knowledge of and expertise of speech pathologists, OTs and physios when there's a really specific need in a developmental area that the teachers are unable to provide support on. So they will bring in a speech pathologist to consult and provide advice around things like alternative and augmentative communication. Or they might bring in a speech pathologist to provide some support around a child's oral motor skills and articulation or language development. They may also bring in an occupational therapist to support around social skills and behaviour or sensory processing, and also around the area of assistive technology and environmental modification. For physiotherapy, they might bring them in around physical development and mobility and really get some specific ideas about how to ensure that child is more mobile and physically fit to be able to participate in their environments. So the key workers bring all the skills from the team together, and they work primarily with the child and family, and they'll do the assessment, they'll do the planning, forming goals with the family and the child. They'll work across the environments that the child lives and learns in, and they will deliver therapy. And that's when we talk about therapy, we talk about the strategies, information, resources that will help that child and help that family to be able to support that child. They'll also assist in doing any of the reviews and making sure they're getting outcomes, and then tweaking the strategies that are put in place to support that child. And they'll always have the support of those team members around them that they can draw on if there's questions or additional advice that's required. So, for example, I've got a 3-year-old girl who's at kinder, and she's having difficulty with her play. She wanders around. She doesn't watch what other children are doing. She tends to flit from one activity to another in very brief times, activities. And she also does this at home. She has trouble interacting with her siblings and gets upset really easily because she's not quite sure what's going on. So the key worker would work with the family at home. They would figure out with the family what goals that family want to achieve for that child at home. And they'll also work with the kinder to look at how they can transfer some strategies that work at home, or see that the goals that are appropriate for the kinder can be worked on as well. So key worker will work across the environments, and they'll work on strategies, and they'll support the family to understand strategies. So for this little girl, they might support the mum to know how to shorten down some of the statements she makes, or some of the questions she asks the child, so it's easier for the child to understand. She might work with the key worker, might work with the siblings to ensure that they know how to engage their sister in play. And they might work with the kinder teacher to know how to adjust the activities so that they're not too hard for the child, and also how to get her to engage with the other children at the childcare centre or the kinder. So that's sort of how we work. They're general skills that the teacher can implement. Though they're speech and language, they don't necessarily need to have the speech pathologist come in. Speech pathologist might come in for a quick review and then provide those ideas that can be extended across the next 3 or 4 months. So at Everyday Independence, we do focus on the whole child. We talk about more than just the child's additional need. So if a child like this little girl is having trouble with engaging with other children, we'll actually look at that so much more broadly than just her being able to say words and greetings. We will look at, okay, how can she play? How can she interact with others? How can she start a game? And we'll look at that bigger picture. We also use a strengths-based approach. So we'll be looking at this young girl and we'll be going, oh, but what is she able to do? What is she successful at? How can we build on her successes? How can we celebrate the small successes that she has? We won't just be looking at, okay, she can't say these words, so we must make her say these words. We'll be looking at extending her play more broadly. It's a great way of describing how we approach this. There's a concept called the F words. When working with children, we have that really holistic approach, and we focus on things that matter to children. So we look at is the child having fun? Because we know that children learn better when they have fun and opportunities for enjoyment and joy in their life. We will look at their fitness and their health and whether they need support to ensure that they are getting what they require associated with their physical needs. We'll look at functioning. Are they able to achieve things that are appropriate within their life? So are they able to complete some of those everyday activities that help them get through the day and help the family get through the day? We'll look at the importance of family. It's really important that a family is happy and healthy, and we acknowledge their own well-being. We look at the very important parts of friendship. Has the child got opportunities to make friends or start friendships or be involved with other people? And the other big one is we will always look at developing the child's needs now or supporting the child now, but having that long-term future picture in mind, that what do we want this child to be able to achieve and participate in as she gets older? And to do this, it's really important that we work in everyday environments, and I'll explain that a little bit further as we go. We mentioned about family as being one of those F words, and the key worker model fits really nicely into that family-centred approach, because that one key worker allows for a really clear understanding of one person, getting a really clear understanding of what the family's needs are. And that can be from a cultural perspective. It could be from a family structure and communication perspective. It could be around what the family's needs are in terms of regularity of service, how they'd like to receive information. And it could also be including what the family's dreams are for the future and what the next 12 months for them might be looking like. And a good family-centred approach will really put the family at the centre, acknowledging that they know the most about the child that the key worker will come and support. So that relationship between the key worker and the family is vitally important. We have a video here that I'm going to share, which will explain to you a little bit about what the key worker model looks like. And this is going to come from one of our key workers whose name is Keren. So I really hope that you enjoy hearing Keren's story. She's got a lot to offer in this space.
Thank you, Tania. Hi, everyone. I'm Keren. I'm a key worker, been doing this role for just over 2 years now. I really enjoy the opportunity that I have to work in partnership with families to support them and their children across a range of environments and a range of developmental domains. I'd like to introduce Sebie to you today. He's a 4-year-old boy that I've been seeing for approximately 7 months now. He's an only child and lives with his mum and dad at home and has a recent diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. He also has a diagnosis of global developmental delay and significant speech delay. So when I came to start working with Sebie, his mum was feeling quite disenchanted with the therapy that they'd been receiving prior to that. They'd been working in clinic with speech and OT. There'd been a lot of turnover of therapists, and mum felt that she wasn't really getting strategies that she was able to use with Sebie at home. So my role coming into the home was exactly what they needed at that time. So I'll tell you a little bit about Sebie's goals. We're working at the moment on his toileting routine. He's currently incontinent full-time in nappies. We're working on communication skills and finding some ways that he's able to communicate his needs and wants and feelings while he's simultaneously developing spoken language. We're working on engaging positively in his evening routine. That's been really challenging for mum and dad, brushing teeth, getting bathed, into pajamas, etc. And it's very stressful for them, and it means that he doesn't get a good sleep in the evening either, because he's very dysregulated by the time he goes to bed. And to transition positively from a preferred to a non-preferred activity when engaging in community activities. For example, if mum and dad take him to the park, they have a great time there, and when it's time to come home, usually they end up having a meltdown and have to carry him to the car. So those are the things that we're working on. So in my role as a key worker, I work as part of a team. I need my team of therapists around me to support the development of the child. In this case, I knew we needed input from our speech pathologist. He has a significant speech delay, and we wanted to work on strategies that I can support with at both home and childcare around his speech and communication. We also enlisted the support of an occupational therapist to help with creating a sensory profile and getting a clearer understanding of the sensory challenges that Sebie was facing. We're also looking at soon having a physiotherapy consult. So our physio will come out to the home or to the childcare centre and support me during a session and give me some ideas of where his challenges lie and what strategies we can support with. In that way, I'm able to bring together all of those strategies from all of those experts and bring them into one session, whether it's at home or childcare. And that also means I can capacity build the family at home and the childcare educators at childcare. So with our speech pathologist, we've had several visits from her to consult. She's been able to identify some particular speech sound challenges that Sebie's experiencing, and we've been able to work out some fun activities that I can incorporate into our sessions to work on developing that motor strength for Sebie. Similarly, with the occupational therapist, we've had a sensory profile done, and the occupational therapist has been able to spend some time with Sebie and relate his challenges directly to the profile, and then put together a selection of strategies that we can use. In addition to supporting the child and family with a team, we also work closely with the family to support them through life's big transitions. So for Sebie, next year will be his first year of preschool. I went and supported the family to visit several preschool options, including an autism-specific centre, to see what might be the best fit for Sebie. That was really valuable for all of us because we were all able to give input from what we'd seen when we went there and the way that Sebie interacted with the environment, and all came to a consensus that the best possible preschool option for him would be our local department preschool, which is attached to the local primary school. And this is Sebie playing there and very much at home straight away in that environment, which was great. We also have spent quite a lot of time working on learning about how the NDIS plan works, where things will go from here now that Sebie has got an autism diagnosis, and how I can support the family with making the most of their NDIS plan. One of the other jobs that we've done is apply for a change of circumstance for the family. Their plan was agency managed, which meant that there were some restrictions on the services that they could access. So after discussions around that and what the family were wanting to access, we agreed we were better off to apply to go plan managed, and I was able to support the family with that to make sure it was a smooth transition as well. So I do fortnightly visits at home with the family, and then on the alternate fortnight I go into the childcare centre and support educators there and do some capacity building there. When Sebie received his autism diagnosis, I did an hour of professional development for all of his educators around the key challenges of autism and the best ways to support him through those. That was really valuable, knowing that all of the educators are on the same page and we're all working together towards the same goals for Sebie, and expecting the same behavioural expectations there has been really important too. In terms of communication, we've introduced visuals both in the home and childcare environments to support him with the transitions that he was struggling with. And we're also introducing lots of keyword sign, which he's responding to really well. Each week when I go into the childcare centre, we learn a couple of new signs, and Sebie now has quite a large keyword sign vocabulary that he's using, which is supporting his spoken language environment as well. And finally, also at childcare, we're working on strategies to improve his fine motor and bimanual hand skills so that he'll be ready to take those next steps into mark making, painting, writing when he's ready. So looking forward for Sebie. Sebie's only just turned 4 as a key worker. If his family would still like me to be involved, I might still be involved until he's 7 or 8, and I'll be able to see him through all of those important transitions that will be happening in the next few years. It gives me an opportunity to watch him grow up. I do have some families that I'm still seeing now, and I've been part of their life for half their child's life now. So it's really a wonderful experience to be part of the family in that way, and to be, for example, at the beginning of the school year, receiving photos from parents of their children in their school uniform on their first day. It really is makes my job very impactful and very rewarding. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Keren. It was really lovely to hear from you about Sebie and how you've made some contributed lots of different strategies. So you can hear from Keren, she described about how she delivered the supports for Sebie. She explained about knowing the goals that Sebie's mum had for him and the impact that some of his needs had within the family. And she mentioned that there was a bit of stress for the family and that they needed to work on some strategies that supported the family well-being. You could hear also that Keren was working between the family, supporting mum, and also at the kinder, and ensuring that the strategies worked between the two and they were working together. Keren was really looking at those goals that made an impact now, but also for the future. So in terms of ensuring the toileting, working on toileting, and then also looking that he's going to school in the future and how to support that. And Keren was also working on strategies that could be used by multiple people. So utilising the skills around keyword sign and delivering some professional development for team members so that they, a wide range of people knew how to support Sebie. We often get asked about where we deliver services, and we do deliver services across a wide range of areas. And we, because we find that we make the most difference when we work with the people around the child. You can see from this slide here, which is actually we've taken from a source called Every Possibility, A Parent's Guide, Early Childhood Intervention. Really shows just how much therapy is if it's delivered sort of 1 hour a week. It's not very much compared to the rest of the context of where the child spends their time. And as they get older, where they spend their time changes. So we really need to deliver support in the areas where the child spends their time. So as a 3-year-old, you'll be increasingly seeing children attending childcare, and as a 6-year-old, they're increasingly in school environments, and they're starting to think about some of those more community-based activities like sports and parties and engaging in a broader range of activities. So providing strategies in those environments allows the child to learn in the context of everyday activities, and it allows the people around them to learn how to support them. Keren mentioned the term capacity building. It comes up a lot with the National Disability Insurance Scheme. The actual funding is called capacity building in early childhood supports. What it really is around is sharing skills and knowledge. So between the professional, key worker, the allied health professionals and the family, they're really sharing skills and knowledge. The therapists and key worker are sharing their knowledge with the family, and the family is sharing their knowledge about the child and their family and what's important to them. So in sharing that skills and knowledge, we get strategies that work for that particular family. We know all families are different, so the strategies need to meet their needs. And then what we see is the change happens when there's lots of practice through everyday life activities. So it's the practice that happens between sessions, with siblings, with parents, with educators, with neighbours. It's those opportunities which are little and often that make a really big difference to a child. So when you're receiving therapy supports at Everyday Independence, it's really important that you're present and that you're part of that therapy service. It then allows you to embed those activities in everyday life routines. So the little girl we mentioned earlier, who is having trouble with play and engaging with people, if we work with the family around, okay, how do we get her to see that we're playing alongside her and that there's an opportunity to talk, that's an activity that can happen 15, 20 times a day for 3 minutes. So it's little and often opportunities to practice, and that's how we see the change start to happen. Now, when the therapist comes back, what's really important is then hearing from the family and hearing from the child about what worked, what hasn't worked, what opportunities for change in the therapy program is there. So it's a bit of a cycle where we go through and we share skills and knowledge, and we develop the strategies that support that child. And that's an equal partnership between the family, the child, and the key worker. So what you can expect when you come to Everyday Independence is your key worker will come out and they will meet you and your child, and they'll get to know you. They will have a conversation about what everyday life is like. They want to know what's important to you. And they'll start to frame up the goals with you that you want to achieve. Then they'll look at doing a focused assessment. So that's really looking specifically at that child's needs to be able to achieve the goals that you have identified. And that could be focused assessment with key worker. It could be focused assessment with a speech pathologist or OT or physio, depending on the child's needs. And then we develop a plan with you. So we need to know, okay, where's the best place for this therapy to happen? Who's the best people to work with? How often do we really need that to happen? And how often do we need to bring those other professionals in? So that therapy planning is really critical to the success of the therapy cycle. And then the delivering therapy, that's when we collaborate with you and we collaborate with other people in that child's life to ensure that that child gets lots of opportunities, little and often, to practice strategies and develop skills. And then there's the official sort of review, reporting, and seeing whether we're celebrating the outcomes we've achieved and developing a plan for the future in terms of NDIS funding or other options that there might be for the child. So the therapy cycle is a very consistent approach that you should receive from every key worker any key worker that you have at Everyday Independence. I know I've discussed a lot today, but there are some resources here that you might find helpful if you want to gather some more information. So there's a Family Voices podcast, which is available on the ECIA VicTAS website. They've got a series of about 24 different podcasts about early childhood intervention. There's also a resource for parents entitled Families, What is Early Childhood Intervention? And that's on the Reimagine Australia website. Reimagine Australia is the peak body for early childhood intervention. And then there's the website F Words in Childhood Disability. That's a great space to find resources that you can use to work with your child to support those wonderful F words which look holistically at the child's development. So I'd like to thank you for coming along and listening to our what the key worker model is and how we deliver it at Everyday Independence. And I hope you enjoyed that presentation. And I'll pass over to Christina, who will actually finish up for us today.
Thank you very much, Tania. Thank you for sharing those resources. You will be able to find them and a few other resources again in the event lobby where you can download them from. Thank you for sharing our team's game-changing work and stories of some of the really wonderful families that we work with. And thank you all for joining us.